Our paver patio projects can go a couple different ways. We've got two different installation methods that we've adopted. And again, it comes back to the drainage and the functionality portion of it. If we're in an area that doesn't drain very well, or we're in maybe an elevation where we're trying to catch grade, there's just instances where you pour a concrete base and then put the pavers on top of it. And just having the knowledge to know the difference when those two are needed for longevity of a project. And there's instances where we can use, we use a clean graded gravel base with a geotextile mat that separates the soil from the gravel. And then about midway through that base, we do a drive grid, which is essentially like a geo grid for a wall, but this is drive grid for a paver patio. So, and then we compact everything. We've got a compactor, a large compactor that's actually tells us when the base is prepped enough to actually lay the pavers on it, which is good. And then we have a roller compactor that will do all the polymeric sand. So our paver patio installation process is pretty similar to a pool. We're not digging out obviously as much soil, but that's the first part of it. We're excavating the soil out, we're laying down the geotextile mat in between the existing soil and the gravel base. So there's a geotextile mat that goes down in between there. And then about halfway up through that gravel base, we actually put a drive grid down and everything's compacted. We do have a compactor that tells us when that is ready or efficient enough to lay the pavers on. And then we screed a pea gravel, clean pea gravel on top of that. That's 3/4 of an inch to an inch. And then we actually install the pavers. And once the pavers are installed, then we compact, use a compactor to roll in the polymeric sand. The paver types that are becoming popular, the large format pavers, we do have an excavator that lifts those in there and installs those for us. Again, on a paver patios, I've seen, and they get a bad name for themselves, or they have before, is they get movement. We've got clay soil, and clay content is pretty high in our soil here in this area, and it expands when it gets wet and it dries when it contracts. So what we see a lot of time is people will use a base grade AB3, and so AB3 will get as hard as concrete will, and the only difference is AB3 doesn't have rebar in it. So when it gets as hard as concrete does and you start expanding and contracting in our soils, that you can start to see those move. And so there's a lot of movement there with the pavers. And the second thing I've seen is, I always hear about, is there's going to be weeds growing through the cracks. And in the old days, pavers used to just get backfilled with regular sand that wasn't protected, or didn't get, the polymeric sand actually gets hard, but it stays flexible. And you did see a lot of plant material growing up through there. The Hinkle outdoor living way, and a process that the step-by-step process we've created over the years, since 2007, installing over 2,500 projects, is experience, and there's three things that we go back to, and it's drainage, it's functionality, and it's design. And so those are kind of the three key metrics that we follow in designing your project to make sure that it's going to be long lasting for you. So for our paver patios, we are certified through the ICPI, which is the Interlocking Concrete Paver Institute. We do follow a lot of their installation procedures and techniques.